the past 15 years, it would be hard to name a game developer that has had more impact on the action genre than id Software. In many ways, the creators of the first-person shooter with games like Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake. Well, this week, id fans are in for a real treat because Quake 4 ships for the PC, and the movie based on Doom arrives in theaters on Friday. Well, tonight, it's a real pleasure because we're going to welcome all four of the owners of id here to G4 TV. We've got John Carmack, Technical Director, Todd Hollenshead, the CEO, Kevin Cloud, Artist, and Tim Willits, Lead Designer. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
So let's kick it off with the Doom movie, which is coming out this Friday. Todd, I know you've been involved with that a lot. If the fans want to know, does this movie get the id seal of approval?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I saw it for the first time, final cut of it a week ago Friday, and I think it is just it's a popcorn hangover movie. So you're going to go there. It's the action starts off very early on in the start of the movie and keeps the adrenaline flowing right until the end.
Wow. Now, Kevin, I know you guys have been, waiting for this movie for a while. It's been in development for a long time. How does it finally feel, 12 years after the original game to have the film come out?
It's super exciting. I mean, one of the things that you're doing when you're working on a game, especially doing the artwork like I worked on with Doom, is when you see these characters, you have sort of in your mind what they could possibly look like if you could achieve everything you wanted to do, in a game. But you're not able to. There's just limitations to it. But to actually see it come to life in a movie is just super exciting. You say, that's it. They nailed it.
Yeah. Well, you must appreciate that on an artistic level. I know, John, for you on a technical level, it must be interesting to see, what they're doing with the film, especially the first-person action sequence, which I think the fans love, which is, but that's kind of created, in the movie world with movie CG and stuff like that. I'm interested to hear from you. I mean, when people see that first-person sequence, how long do you think it'll be until a game will actually look like that in terms of the visuals? I mean, do you look at that and say, this is what first-person shooters are going to look like in 5 years?
Well, it's interesting because it depends on the distance that you view something at. Over the last year or two, I have noticed that as I walk by people's offices, a lot of times when you glance at something on a screen, you're not immediately sure now whether it's a video game or some movie playing off of a DVD player on there. When you get up closer, you can tell the difference. You can look for sort of the telltale silhouette edges and some issues with the lighting and atmospherics and so on. But all of that is pretty much going to be addressed in probably the next 2 generations of video games. The generation coming up will let you get a little bit closer before you see it's a video game versus a movie. But I would say the generation after that, you're going to have a lot of stuff that unless you're almost expert in knowing what to look for, things are going to look as if they were a movie. You'll still see the differences in character animation and very subtle little things that experts will be able to pick up. Where in movies, they might use similar graphics tools and rendering technologies and so on there, but every single frame on the high-budget movies has somebody checking every single vertex. Yeah. And we're never going to get to that level on the games because you just don't have the control of being able to know exactly where everything is. Wow. But it's going to be approaching pretty darn close.
That's exciting. Well, I know you guys have another game coming out this week, which is Quake 4, which is a current generation game, but looks fantastic. Now, Tim, I know this was done by Raven Software, but why don't you tell us a bit about it and how id was involved in the development of it?
Well, one of the great things about working with Raven is that they've been a partner of ours for so long. They've always had our technology first. They've made AAA titles. They have years of experience. So when we were looking at Quake 4, we looked at all the developers that we had the opportunity to work with, and we knew that Raven would be a great fit.
Wow, that's cool. Now, Raven's also working on another game, which you guys announced at XO5, which is, a new Wolfenstein game, which everyone's excited about. But I want to ask you, John, a technical question first about it. You're using Xbox 360 as sort of the base platform for this. I know you're doing some modifications to the engine. Everyone always looks to you for sort of insight on, new video cards, new platforms. Why did you pick Xbox 360 over PlayStation 3? I mean, is that a better environment for a developer right now?
Okay, well, you'll probably have to cut me off because I can ramble for hours on this topic.
Give us a top-line answer.
But the Xbox 360, Microsoft has far and away the best development tools on there, where usually when you went from PC to console development, it was a real step down in the quality of tools that you could expect to work with. While Microsoft, because they're a software company, knows how important that is. They take all the quality that they provide for the PC development, they move it over there, and the hardware is comparable. And you can argue...
So you don't think PS3 is going to be more powerful?
PS3 is probably marginally more powerful in terms of raw flops and graphic operations, but that's really not the best way to look at things. When we look at these development cycles that stretch over years and years, being 20% easier to develop on is much more important than being 20% more powerful.
Interesting. And you've had experience now with both systems, so I mean, you feel...
And it's hard to say bad things about either of them because
Right.
they're great hardware. It's not like the previous generation where you could look at, say, the PlayStation 2 and say, oh, this is kind of wretched in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But they're good. Good processors, good graphics on both of them. There's not a lot to complain about. I make little nitpicky decisions about saying, well, I prefer the symmetric approach that Microsoft has over the asymmetric cell approach.
Right.
But you could do great games on either one of them, and I'd make the fundamental decisions based on development tools and depth of documentation, which
Well, that's
Microsoft
great.
has been superior on.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that game. Now, I know I saw you at XO5, Tom. We were hanging in Amsterdam, and we talked a little bit there about this because there's been a lot of turmoil. You said it's not it without turmoil. And I know there's been a lot of news about personnel changes, all these other things going on at id. I think the fans want to know. I mean, is everything fine at id these days?
Well, yeah. I mean, controversy inspires us, I think, as much as anything else. So, our job at id is to try to keep a focus on the games because that's what we do best. And there are always going to be distractions. I mean, for every successful company, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to want a piece of that or try to there's always litigation issues that you have. But for us, I think the task is to not let that stuff be a distraction and keep our focus on stuff like the Quake 4 project, Enemy Territory, Wolfenstein, and the stuff that we have that we're working on internally coming up next.
Yeah, I know you guys are doing another internal game, which you've been sort of secretive about. It's a new intellectual property. I think you guys have said that much. I'm wondering, do you guys think, Kevin, I should ask you this. I mean, do you think you guys are always going to keep doing FPS games, or do you look at what Epic's doing with like a Gears of War third-person action game? I mean, do you think should you guys grow beyond just doing FPS games, or what are you guys thinking these days about that?
Well, I mean, we're taking it one game at a time, but our focus is first-person shooters. I mean, that's we created that genre.
Yeah.
We know it. We love it. That's the type of games we like playing. So, I can't count anything out in the future. But as far as I can see, yeah, our focus is first-person shooters.
Do you think is it getting more competitive though in the genre because you have last year Doom came out but there's Half-Life, there's a lot of great competition now out there. I mean, do you guys feel is it even more challenging now to move the bar forward than it was a decade ago?
Well, for us, we look at we are gamers ourselves, and we like to play games. And we like other games to be great. Todd's famous line is that we don't need other games to suck to make our games great.
Right.
And for us is if there's a lot of strong titles out there for the market, it builds the whole market. It gets more gamers excited. It brings more people into the gamer community. And really, honestly, it helps everybody because we love to play games and we love to make games and we
make good ones.
Yeah.
We can't wait to play more. All right, we'll go.